The reason I sort of came up with this is because most golfers really struggle with, coming over the top, slicing the ball.
Yes.
And this gave a really easy visual representation of how to work the arms, but also how to work the body, which is really important.
Yes.
So, for the golfer who struggles with slicing it or comes over the top, what would happen in terms of the quadrant system is that when they got up to the top of their swing, they would get their left shoulder, upper body in quadrant number 4, and their arms would go out to quadrant number 2. So they would swing really heavily across the ball.
Yes. And that's the one we see most often.
Most often.
Yeah, okay.
So in order to correct that, what we would try and do is to get the upper body feeling like it's going more in quadrant number 1 as the hands and the arms stay more in quadrant number 3.
Got it, okay.
So instead, that would look more like this.
Yeah.
Now what that would help us do is when we get the upper body into quadrant number 1, it helps us move the low point forward.
Gotcha.
Okay, which is really important. When we keep the arms back in quadrant number 4, it helps move the path to the right, which is really what we need for almost every golfer. So
yeah, we take those two.
This is a really easy representation that I've seen to help golfers do that.
I want to talk to you today about LiveView Golf. Now you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. LiveView is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out LiveView Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. Hey guys, Eric here, back outside at the Bethlehem Golf Club. With me here to my left, my good buddy, Mr. JT Thomas. JT, thanks for coming down, man.
For sure.
In today's video, we're going to talk about something JT introduced me to here, which is the 4-quadrant system, and what we think really can be a huge missing link to your golf swing. Now, before we dive in, if you guys don't know who JT is my good buddy. It's who I take lessons with personally. He coaches with me on CogornoGolf.com. That's where we'd like you guys to go in terms of online lessons. If you're looking for a golf coach and you want us to look at your swings, build you a personal practice plan, access all of our videos, you can check out CogornoGolf.com. If you are looking for some in-person coaching, JT did just move back up to New York, back in the Northeast. He has a facility that is opening up shortly in New York. If you'd love some in-person coaching, we'll put JT's info in the description down below. So JT, 4-quadrant system. Why don't we flip-flop again here?
Yeah, sounds great.
Explain, because I love this little system here, and if you explain to me and all of us what the quadrants are and what you're looking to do when you're working with someone to build in into their golf swing, how to use this quadrant system.
Yeah, absolutely. So this quadrant system is basically set up in terms of the numbers. Is the top left quadrant is number 1, top right quadrant is number 2, bottom right is number 3, bottom left is number 4.
Got it.
So,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so it kind of goes around sort of a clockwise system.
Okay.
The reason I sort of came up with this is because most golfers really struggle with, coming over the top, slicing the ball.
Yes.
And this gave a really easy visual representation of how to work the arms, but also how to work the body, which is really important.
Yes.
So, for the golfer who struggles with slicing it or comes over the top, what would happen in terms of the quadrant system is that when they got up to the top of their swing, they would get their left shoulder, upper body in quadrant number 4, and their arms would go out to quadrant number 2. So they would swing really heavily across the ball.
Yes. And that's the one we see most often.
Most often.
Yeah, okay.
So in order to correct that, what we would try and do is to get the upper body feeling like it's going more in quadrant number 1 as the hands and the arms stay more in quadrant number 3.
Got it, okay.
So instead, that would look more like this.
Yeah.
Now what that would help us do is when we get the upper body into quadrant number 1, it helps us move the low point forward.
Gotcha.
Okay, which is really important. When we keep the arms back in quadrant number 4, it helps move the path to the right, which is really what we need for almost every golfer. So
yeah, we take those two.
This is a really easy representation that I've seen to help golfers do that.
Dude, I love it. Let me hop in there and do a couple here with this.
Absolutely, yep.
So I love that reference point. I like the 4 quadrants really to be able to visualize not only where the club's moving, but also where my body's at. And so if I show, let's move over a little bit, JT. So let's say from the face on camera, and this is the part that for me too, because I think for the slicers, JT, certainly we're seeing the left shoulder and upper body get to the 4 spot, this box,
absolutely,
and the club out here. And so for sure for those, and usually speaking, always the solution's got to be the opposite.
Yep.
And so if we don't want, like you mentioned, to be over here, I'm going to feel that forward and down motion to get into quadrant number 1 as I keep my arms and hands in. You said that already. But there's also a lot of other golfers who are somewhere in between those two patterns.
Absolutely.
And I would say this upper body getting into box 1 for 90+% of people that I've seen swings from,
absolutely,
would be an excellent starting point. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
It's almost like, hey, let's learn to get this upper body, let's say we have normal backswing, let's learn to get this upper body working into that forward position first to get the contact in the low point, see where we go from there, and then we can work the arm motion, right?
Absolutely.
So as I'm feeling this upper body motion, let's say I normally don't do that. Let's talk through what this would feel like. So for me, if I normally stay on my line or I don't go down and forward, is the feeling for me that my head, upper body, chest are doing quite literally that, like on a 45-degree angle working down and forward?
For sure, yeah. You're absolutely going to be almost try to move your head outside of the quadrant. Right?
This way?
That way, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's going to be the feeling. As you move forward towards me or outside of the quadrants, and then in terms of directionally, you're trying to go towards quadrant number 1.
So if this were like a wall here,
yep,
I'm feeling like my upper body's going forward of it.
Yes.
As it's working on the 45-degree angle. Okay,
perfect.
So let's do 1 or 2 with that, because I know for me this is something that I could definitely use more of.
Absolutely.
So my head feels forward this way and a little bit forward this way.
Correct.
Together. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to just do a little short one here first.
Perfect.
And that for me, and I can notice the difference in the strike, because me normally, if this is my wall, my head backs up about 1 inch.
Absolutely.
Being nice there, maybe 2 inches. And so I'm sure when I feel that forward motion, it probably just stays where it's at.
Exactly.
Now I have the benefit or the blessing and the curse of my arms, hands, club shallow really well by themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I train that in, that's already there. So I don't have to worry about this piece. But I think based on the swings we see, for a lot of people who are already over here this way, as they feel that, they might even go a little more over.
Absolutely.
And so that second piece of the drill in this quadrant, and the way this is lined up is this stick, and correct me if I'm wrong here, JT, but this stick is going to be basically just in front of my toes.
In front of your toes, yeah.
Just in front of my toes. This front stick is basically in the middle of my feet. So it's a stick on my toe line, and then a stick with the ball position, which is basically middle of my stance.
Absolutely.
And so not only am I feeling my upper body working this forward and this way, which I need in my life, I can reference this club in my arms on this line.
Absolutely.
And so if I do go too far out, my sensation would be as I'm doing this, my arms and hands are really staying in.
Absolutely.
And would you say I might even, if I'm really overdoing this, feel like my pec or my bicep goes against my pec? I might even press it in a little.
Absolutely, yeah. Press it in as you're getting into that quadrant. That's what makes it flow really nicely.
Yeah.
It's super important when you're using the quadrant system that you want to be trying your best to put the arms and the body working in a somewhat together, yeah.
And so it's like I'm steepening my body motions as I'm pulling my arms and hands back and kind of shallowing my arms, hands, club.
Absolutely.
And that should even itself out.
For sure.
I don't want to shallow my body, steepen the club.
Exactly. You want to really get your body in that, in number 1, and it actually teaches you how to shallow the club when you do that. You're forced to.
Like otherwise, you have to.
Yeah, otherwise, like you said, you'll have a tendency to come over the top.
And I'll tell you what, that for me feels really, really solid. And I know that I need more of this. And I think this is such a simple thing that everyone can use. The key is finding what your normal motions are.
Absolutely.
And then how to adjust the quadrants. But we would say as a template to start with, you want to feel upper body towards 1, arms and hands staying into 3.
Exactly.
And then adjusting base your ball pattern. right?
Absolutely.
So I love that. If you guys don't know where to start with that, I would start with just the upper body doing the one part and start with little short swings and build your way up, and then feel the arm motion based on the contact and ball flight.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're doing too much pull, too much fade, too steep, you need to feel your arms and hands more in quadrant 3. If you're doing too much fat, thin, push, hook, you might want to let the arms go along for the ride a little bit.
Absolutely.
Right, as you start down. So that's what I mean. You can really use this as a missing link regardless of the flaw, right? It's not just for anything. So I think that's it. Super simple quadrant system. Love it. JT, thanks, man.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
You
Thank
got
you. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you did like the video, do us a favor, click that like button down below. Click the notification bell. Also, please subscribe. If you would like some coaching, if you would like me to look at your swing, help build you a personal plan, go ahead and click the Cogorno Golf logo on the screen. We'll take you right there. We'll also include 2 other cards if you'd like to learn more about today's topic.